Face front, true believers, and welcome to the culmination of the Samaritan path Netflix started us down, where we recap the journeys of the devil of Hell's Kitchen, the PI who stood up to the Purple Man, the righteous ex-con turned Power Man, and the kid with the glowing fist. In a show where we uncover the stories the Avengers might not disclose, but we will, as we analyze the Marvel microcosm and finally start Divulging Defenders. Oh yeah. Tonight we're talking about episode 4, Royal Dragon. How are you tonight, Dragon?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Dragon. So it's funny. Episode 3, I called the. So we're gonna. Dragon, do you want to set up the episode 8 terminology right up the bat, just so just so we're clear?
All right, look, just to keep it simple, folks, before Luke Cage kind of gummed up the works, I mean that in the most positive of ways, before Luke Cage kind of broke the streak somewhat, or at least complicated the streak. Famously, with Daredevil, Season 1, 2, and Jessica Jones, Episode 8 continued to be the trend of, like, the best of being, like, the kind of the best episode of the build-up to the episode. And then
Of course, Daredevil Season 1 had the Wilson Fisk origin story. Jessica Jones Season 1 had the
Kilgrave.
her kind of like... Yeah, go ahead.
We go to Kilgrave's, we go to Jessica Jones' childhood home, and it's a whole episode between her and Kilgrave that we've been building to for 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Daredevil Season 2 is the big return of Kingpin.
Yes, the return of Kingpin. Also, at that point, it starts to get a little complicated. We open it up to episodes 8 and 9 kind of being able to switch places, because traditionally the following episode is a reversal of the previous episode. The point is, 8 and 9 are those are the sweet spots of the Netflix series, at least for the grand point. And then with Luke Cage, it kind of devolved into, hey, episodes 7 and 8 are really good, and then it's just kind of.
Then Iron Fist, it was like, yeah, bits and pieces here and there are okay.
So we've kind of gotten away from it.
The master fight was enjoyable.
But just lovingly, episode 8 is kind of our shorthand for, like, that's like the mind blowing. Oh my god, it's so good. This is Shadows on the Glass, the little Kingpin with the cufflinks explanation. This is the bee's knees, man. This is
all right. Well, this isn't necessarily like Shadows on the Glass good, Dragon, but in terms of like how it stacks up to Defenders, I would say that this is Defenders episode 8.
This feels like Nelson versus Murdoch.
To be clear here, this is not the season finale of Defenders, which is the actual Defenders episode 8.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it gets a little confusing. Anyway.
I think the best way of putting it, this one feels like another great episode. Wasn't exactly in the 8 or 9 position, but it was very much in in one of the greatest hits of Daredevil Season 1. It feels very Nelson versus Murdoch-esque. It feels very like it's very much a bottle episode. It's very much just kind of our characters really talking it out with each other. Really strong.
I just feel like this episode is kind of like it's the perfect culmination of what we wanted in this show, and I kind of wish more of this show kind of followed the same path.
And last thing, because we're kind of talking like stuff, we're kind of jumping the gun with this sort of talk, but I think the last thing that really hit with it would be that this episode complements episode 3 very well. It's a great pairing with episode 3.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I feel like episode 3, of course, has the wonderful hallway fight, but this episode is just really compelling all the way around. Like, there's never a dull moment here. I love all the character interaction stuff.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into it, Dragon. Let's take a recap into the plot.
Yes. All right, folks. Here's the plot. The Defenders, that's their name, they lay low, and they're laying low, and they get to know each other at the Royal Dragon Chinese restaurant. They're dealing with some trust issues, and Jessica Jones wants out. But Stick drops by for exposition about the Hand's plot for the season. Hand member Murakami voices doubt to Alexandra. Jessica Jones checks in on the Raymond family. And ultimately, Alexandra drops by to lure in an attempt to lure Iron Fist to the Hand's side, which leads to fight, and ultimately Jessica Jones saving the day. And that's where we leave it.
All right, so let's kind of get into the four heroes here. Let's start by Discerning Daredevil.
Oh boy, so we really pay off this in the next episode. To be honest, we're starting to really pay off the whole Daredevil addiction plot line of his addiction to vigilantism, and
his first part of this episode was absolutely electric. Like everything, everything leading up to him taking off the scarf dragon. That's exactly what I wanted to see from the series.
Certainly. And again, Daredevil in that Matt in that scene, he's saying, and he's very frantic. I think Charlie Cox he plays that scene so well. And what's so important in that scene is that he's playing it like an addict who's in great danger of relapse, and he's trying not to relapse so much in that scene. Because he's been here, as he keeps echoing in the scene, being kind of cryptic to the others, to Jessica Jones' annoyance. He's living his nightmare, the realization that there's no escape from this hand war that Stick's been touting off for years. Training him, you got to train for a war, kid. You got to train for a war, kid. Now he's being faced with like the ultimate challenge. He's always been like kind of brushing off and like, I'm trying to get my life on straight here, and of all times in my life for the war to rear its head now. Right. Anyway, he's very much in that kind of addict, kind of trying to avoid a relapse. He's in denial of like, okay, it's happening now, and everyone has to kind of face him with that. Hey, whatever's going on here, you got to be involved with us.
Yeah, and then of course once he does get to the reveal, it very much is a humanizing moment for Matt. It's kind of Daredevil sort of getting kind of meeting. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. It's
Well, I really like about it. I like that in that scene as well when he's wearing the mask. He's again, it's so great in the acting here. He's thinking like a lawyer so much in the scene too. He kind of goes from addict to lawyer, and basically he keeps that mask on. It's like as ridiculous as Jessica Jones is pointing out. Like they could, if they really thought hard, they could probably figure it out. Where again, he's thinking like a lawyer, like very much like a Saul Goodman or a Jimmy McGill, and that it's like by the technicality of, well, no one saw my face, and he's trying to like plausible deniability. If I can leave the situation right now, and if they don't, if the less they know, the more deniability I have of getting involved in this thing, them finding out who I am, and there being any ramifications, I can get out of here if I can just keep this scarf on and get out of this Chinese. Basically, wait for the hand to go by, and I can leave here.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very reluctant arc that Matt goes on this episode of ultimately.
I feel like it's almost kind of like a little mini arc that sort of culminates, everything that we've been building up with Matt throughout the first half of the season.
Yes.
Kind of like almost like sort of like the stages of addiction, if you will. It's like it's all kind of coming to a head throughout this episode.
Yes, he's getting to the stage of acceptance. It's kind of accepting that he has a problem and that he really can't do anything about it right now. Where he's accepting that Stick's war is here. Is that again, the war is here, and again, it's kind of mixed with kind of the arc of the next episode of where Daredevil has to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly here, it's admitting the problem, and then the next episode will be more of like kind of admitting this. He knows what the solution is. That's kind of like
Of course, I love how he treats Stick like a sort of like a drunken stepfather.
Like, no.
Right.
And what's cool too is that with Stick, we definitely see his trust issues after one Stick coming back into the fray. What happened with Elektra and all the hand craziness. Basically, the ending of Daredevil season 2 is he's definitely got some. Not just Stick coming back, but I mean the whole thing of Stick keeping all the secrets that he kept from Matt in season 2 of and again, it's kind of fun to see. Speaking of the whole familiar relationship, Tiki, is that if you look at it that if you look at it that way, it's Stick is very much he's the surrogate father of Matt Murdock, very much like an uncle type at the very least, where Stick kept these secrets. And Matt very much is like trying to keep secrets, and he's emulating Stick, despite the fact he is always in denial that he is Stick.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that, it's like kind of denying you're like again denying like you have like it in within you that you're like the drunk uncle in a way. It's but again, like all the craziness of all the stuff with the hand Elektra and like all the stuff that kind of rocked his world last season. Like, oh my god, Elektra's the black sky, now the hand's after. I'm trying to do this thing with the Punisher.
Of course, I like how the Elektra thing is a secret that they're trying to keep from the rest of the group. That adds another kind of complicated dynamic with Matt's character.
It does, and we'll get into that complication with the next episode. For say for sure. Yes, and yeah, he is keeping that sake for Elektra. He is keeping it for Elektra's sake, and what's cool is that Jessica. What's kind of nice here, I might be reading into this.
Jessica just straight up calls him on you like, "Oh, I know who you are. Come on, it doesn't even. It's like 2 + 2 = Daredevil."
That's true. And it's great. Again, that's the thing Jessica's really bringing to the show, is that she's bringing logic and kind of like the audience's perspective to the show, and that's really fun. That's another reason we love her and defend her so much. But so yeah, I'm kind of reading between the lines on this on a rewatch with, and I thought it was kind of nice. Is Jessica, of course, is very much a model of kind of someone coping with PTSD, and if you look at it from we've been looking at Matt, dealing with his vigilantism like an addiction, but especially in this situation where the Hand's coming back, all the bad stuff that happened to him in season 2 comes into the fray, at least, for argument's sake, enters his mind. This is Jessica working him through his own PTSD of vigilantism. In a way, it's another way in which they are connected and very much paired together this season. So it's kind of nice that Jessica's working Matt through his own, through PTSD, through her being, again, the kind of the main character of coping with her own form of PTSD. I thought it was kind of nice.
Yeah, and of course, throughout the episode, we continue kind of the pairings where Jessica and Matt are kind of interacting a little bit more, and of course, Heroes for Hire is kind of coming together, so we get all that throughout the episode.
And we do a nice Texas swap of, and then we make sure we maximize, who's being paired with who. We definitely pair Danny with Matt in the episode, and we also get Jessica and Luke back together again for a moment.
Sure, for a moment.
Speaking of the Rand Man.
The Rand Man, yeah. Interpreting Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So, Dragon, this might be the most likable that Finn Jones will ever be, potentially.
Well, again, I'm holding out hopes that season 2 of Iron Fist will improve.
I'm holding hope. I'm saying that. I'm not trying to diss the guy. I'm just saying, he's legitimately very strong in this episode.
And again, let me make it clear. Finn Jones, I know you're not saying this, I just want to make it clear for the record. Again, folks, Finn Jones is a good actor. Any faults in the writing on Iron Fist will show greatly on him, because, again, season 1 of Iron Fist, which people really look to as all the Iron Fist, kind of the train of the Iron Fist hate, is that he's playing a character to which he does not know what the character's thinking or what the end goal of his arc is while he's acting it. And it shows. And again, it's not the actor's fault, it's the fault of the script. In this case, he knows where he's going with it, so I think we see dramatic improvement in the performance.
And I think just the fact that he's bouncing off of this cast, and of course getting him together with Luke Cage, is a huge plus. He's actually useful with him speaking Mandarin, kind of smoothing things over with the owner of the Chinese restaurant. That's a great bit.
Yeah, and yes, we're in Danny's wheelhouse, in the wheelhouse that we saw, and again, the good parts of Iron Fist as well, where, again, he's in, he's dealing with, the mundane things, but also, he's very much in the China. If we divvy up where our heroes are, we have Hell's Kitchen, we have Harlem, we have kind of an more upscale towards Midtown section of Hell's Kitchen with Jessica Jones. And of course, I think Danny Rand, the majority of where he's located, I think the Chikara Dojos. Yeah, I think the Chikara Dojo is legitimately in Chinatown. So he is very much in Chinatown, which kind of takes us to the main location of the episode. And again, using his wealth to kind of help the team in times of crisis in this episode and the next. Again, is using the Danny Rand side of himself that Luke Cage kind of helped steer straight with the whole, you got to use your wealth, use the Danny Rand side of yourself responsibly instead of just waste it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. And of course, Danny Rand, additionally, more so the Iron Fist side of him, very much in this episode going forward to the back half of the season. We've learned in the last episode, and then we go forward here, is that Iron Fist is the MacGuffin that's putting our plot in motion.
Which very much kind of gives free reign for the writers to do what they want with him in a way.
True. Because, and again, it's really, we have to keep
less about his personality, and it's more just kind of serving the plot. Yeah,
it is kind of a get out of jail free card of exactly. Hey, we don't have a lot for Iron Fist to do here and there, but we have to keep him, kind of keep him alive. We have to keep him involved. Well, how do we do that? Well, okay, he's the main crux. He's always going to be kind of in the conversation, technically.
I really love how the other characters keep calling him out. Dragon, one of the things, a line that just had me cracking up that I maybe like almost had to pause the episode over was Jessica Jones just bluntly like, "Are you on lithium?"
Yeah, it's funny.
And of course, right? Do you kind of get do you know the connection to that?
No, I don't know the connection.
Lithium is a very popular song by Nirvana.
Oh,
so it's like, oh, I don't know, who knows, because the marketing.
Well, remember, she is. Remember, she's the Nirvana fan of the group.
Of course. So, and it is on the same album as the Defenders theme song, if you will, "Come As You Are." So
yeah, that has to be that has to be a deep cuts reference. That has to be
right.
But yeah, let's see. But also, like the skepticism voiced by Jessica as well as Stick. What Stick is. Again, in the writing, we're still calling Danny out in his, he's the learning curve of Iron Fist. But again, the fact that we're addressing it,
Matt's doing it too. Like Matt's basically like, look, if you want us to stop treating you like a kid, stop acting like a kid.
Yeah, we're gonna do that a lot this season. I'm just saying we're having moments like that, in the episode here, where again, smartly opposed to the writing weaknesses in Iron Fist, we're not just rolling with him pretending like Danny knows what he's doing. Here, we're showing that no. He has to learn here, folks, and luckily he has his kind of his Mean Joe Green mentor in Luke Cage.
right, absolutely.
And of course, the bond with Luke Cage is shown in a wonderful little scene in this episode, which we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It was really cool. I think the last thing I really have to hit with Iron Fist, which again is something I really liked that we kicked off in the first episode with Danny, that I like that we're continuing on. I've always liked this element of his arc, which I'm eager to see if we're going to do anything more with this, is that I love in this episode when Alexandra shows up to really kind of try to coerce Iron Fist. I love how like she's very she's trying to wine and dine him. She's trying to go for like a little mini walk, and then just like turns him. It's like, hey, let's go for a little stroll in the barricaded Chinese restaurant. It feels like very much like a Madame Gal move, but it still feels very uniquely Alexandra. She's like, hey, forget all these guys who are here. It's just you and me right now. Where Danny's facing a choice that could potentially save a lot of lives, like the ones that he was not able to save. Again, the ones that he's haunted by. Did I fail the people of Kunlun because I can't return the Kunlun? Those people, they needed their guardian. I knew there was I've always been fascinated by that ending for the first season of Iron Fist, where there's signs of a struggle, but he'll never know because Kunlun has disappeared. And in the beginning of Defenders, his nightmares are dead bodies of the monks who raised him that he owed his life to. And again, so I love that. Now we're connecting that, where it's, Danny's trying to make amends in a way to connect our heroes here, like how Daredevil's trying to make up for his past sins. Danny Rand in some ways is also trying to make up for his past sins with Colleen, trying to fight the Hand. So again, he's facing he's still making
a boneheaded move. Speaking of Colleen, of trying to call Colleen from the hideout.
He's still making mistakes, and he's still impulsive. We only had taste of that there when Daredevil's like calling him out, where he's like kind of getting a little offended in the moment there. The Mash is like, I'll treat you like an adult when you act like one. It's almost like Spaulding from Caddyshack, and I got nothing I like it, Spaulding. But I wanted pork. You'll get nothing like it, Danny.
All right.
Okay,
so let's start.
Who's got the key?
Well, Cage.
If Danny Rand's the key, this is what he's unlocking.
I'm Luke Cage.
Luke Cage. Oh man, we still love Luke Cage. We really do.
Dragon, I'm going to step away for just a second. All right, so you kind of steer the conversation.
All right.
For a moment, I'll be back.
So, Sure. So, folks, so Luke Cage. So in this episode, Luke Cage, he definitely does not trust a mass vigilante at all. That's kind of where we're starting at with Luke Cage, and he's starting to think of it. He's rolling with the punches because he realizes, it's part of the greater good. And again, what I like that you see with Luke, and particularly with a great scene with Danny Rand, is that while he's in the middle of all this, he is the most willing of inching towards the team up, even if he's in denial of that. Again, all of our characters are very much in denial. Like, again, the first episode of the series, the H word, the hero is a very feared term among this group. And again, like, Luke, out of all of them, is close to calling himself, Harlem's hero. Like, he'll accept the title. He doesn't, he won't go around brandishing it, but he'll accept that responsibility. It's not him thinking of himself as a hero. It's him like accepting that people look to him as a hero, that he has responsibility to bear. So again, like, he's inching towards the team of it's a necessary thing, I'm going to do it. But what I love with Luke, and I love how he put in perspective here, is one of the reasons I love Luke Cage. Again, he's a very down to earth guy who just has a very good heart, and he's all these heroic tendencies. Again, the reluctant hero arc is something that we marveled at in the first season of Luke Cage. Is that Luke, as he puts it very, very simply, and what I loved in the beginning of this season, he was just in this to save one person, the Miller family. He was just, Cole Miller, and he failed, and he's really beating himself up over that, and he's kind of getting justice for Dolores Miller, who's lost the last of her 3 children thanks to the hand. And yeah, he's he's carrying that responsibility, and he becomes to realize that more.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Right. Well, yeah. So basically, what I was saying is that Luke, he's basically went from the whole I was just in this to save one person, and now he's carrying. He comes to realize that there are more lives at risk, so he's gonna have to upgrade his mission from one person representing Harlem to we got to save all of New York.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the one person line, because he's kind of trapped in that after school special mentality at the start of the episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just out to save the kids from the mean drug dealers.
Exactly. Again, he's dealing with the white hat situation. That's all he was. That's all he was there. Like a man corrupting the youth of Harlem. That's what he was in this for. Getting justice for Cole Miller and stopping White Hat. And now he's in this big old hand conspiracy. It's like a war, like an ancient war that's going to threaten New York. I didn't sign on for any of this. Pompeii, Chernobyl. I didn't know they were supposed. How am I supposed to know that? Of course, he is put in the same room with his ex-flame, Jessica Jones.
I think the great thing about Luke Cage in this episode is that he, in terms of powers, he might be the most overpowered of the 4 of them, but he's, in terms of personality, he's by far the most level-headed and normal.
Yes. Yeah, I think what's so great, it's a really good scene where we have Jessica and Luke kind of having a conversation after Jessica kind of blows up at the meeting. And it really reflects
the Stick tells her to sit down and shut up, by the way.
Yes, and again,
a laugh out loud moment.
I'll tell you what's great about that moment too is just the fact that it makes all the sense in the world. It's an awesome moment to kind of stand up to Jessica Jones like that, and a part of me, the party goes "Wow, man, is she gonna sit down?" But then a second passes, and you realize, okay, no world with Jessica Jones.
Right.
But for a moment, you wonder, "Oh my God, what's she gonna do?" No one's ever. Jessica Jones. It's like the guys at the bar saying, "Oh man, that old man, just the little blind guy, just told the mean drunk lady to sit down and shut up. This is not going to go well." But no. It's what's great about that moment. It shows how far Luke has progressed. Where he's he's saying, look, Jessica, people's lives are in danger. Where again, when he appeared in Jessica Jones, he wasn't by any stretch there, and she's kind of shocked by it. Well, she's not shocked by it, but she's kind of she's definitely realizing how far apart they are in their heroic arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was kind of coming with it while you were stepping away for a moment was that basically Luke, he's out of all of them who've come to the place of accepting that they're all none of them will call themselves a hero. And the closest to accepting that was probably Luke Cage, and then short of that, probably Daredevil. But again, importantly with Luke Cage, it's that he will.
Iron Fist at least kind of is down with the whole Super Friends idea, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes. So for a moment, thanks for bringing that up, because real quick, just to make sure we hit it with each of these guys, like where their perspectives are. So Iron Fist, he's very much like he's totally game for the. Iron Fist is finally getting answers about Kunlun, which is all he wants. So he loves Stick. He loves this whole plan. I love this plan. I'm happy to be a part of it. That's Iron Fist. He's so he's very much in favor.
A very antagonistic person, like throughout all of the Netflix stuff so far.
Yeah, this is like Stick's fanboy, and I love how this pays off. By the way, but I want to get there. Yeah, he's a huge Stick. He's a huge fan of Stick. Daredevil, of course, he's very much in like very reluctant position of like with the history attached to it. So he's very much like, no, I'm vetoing this. I want out of here. You guys don't want any part of this. No war. And Luke is in a position of, well, if I have to, he's rolling with it. Where I'm going to have to. Luke is just keeping it simple and localized to basically kind of the almost like a firefighter is kind of like when New York was when New York is faced with tragedy, you just have like kind of your working stiffs going to help with the cleanup effort. That's very much where Luke's coming from in that regard.
Right.
And anyway, what I'm getting with this elongated Jessica Jones point that I kind of sidetracked myself from is that I think he hopes that Jessica, who's the only familiar face in this setting, in this situation, the only familiar face that he knows, and he appeared in her show, he hoped that she would be in his corner, and he's a little let down by that Jessica Jones isn't there, and he knows that Jessica Jones.
I do like how he's the first one out of the group to say, like, look, it's her decision. It's not her fight. She doesn't really have any stake in this besides just kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He gets it, and he's smart enough to realize that there's nothing in this world I can say to kind of get to change Jessica Jones's mind. That woman is she's strong in both physically and morally. Character-wise, she's very she's bullheaded. That Jessica Jones, I can't change her mind. And again, as Luke has gotten to a place of accepting life's craziness after all, again, like he's faced a hammer teched out Diamondback. He's escaped prison. He's faced a building's been dropped on him. He's faced a lot of craziness, and a man with an iron fist punched him across an alleyway. And again, like all of that, all the stuff that he went through, all the Riva stuff. In the end, it's kind of a shame we don't vocalize this a little bit more, because we do have a few lines at Tease, like I'll explain it to you later, Jessica Jones. He's worked past his grief with Riva, so he's gotten to a place of acceptance of Jessica Jones. He's rolling with him. We have that beautiful moment that's acted by Mike Coulter. It's a beautiful moment. One of my favorite moments between him and Jessica Jones in the whole series is him saying, Jessica, and I love the setting. I love how it's raining. I love how it's a very vulnerable feeling scene. Is Luke, the bulletproof man, just saying it looks like weak as a marshmallow in this scene. I love it. He says, Jessica, just be careful. It was good to see it again. It was like a really sweet scene between the two of them. Not in so many words. There's two very contrasting personalities, but still, you see that connection. You see these two kids. I know we love Claire, but you kind of hope these two kids get together.
Right.
It's a fool's dream, but come on.
I'm trying to make a Mormon joke, but nothing's coming to me, Dragon. I'm not gonna touch that one.
Well, do they have anything relevant to add with Luke Cage?
Oh, I'm just saying, there's no reason why a guy can't love more than, I don't know. I'm trying to, it's like he has more. There's no classy way to put it, Dragon. Right. Okay, let me just put it this way. You know how I've been telling you that Girls Trip, they try and make Mike Coulter into the villain?
Yeah.
Well, Luke Cage having the relationship with both Jessica Jones and Claire Temple, that's basically his character in Girls Trip. It's like he's a classy guy. He's still very, very relatable. Yeah, maybe a little bit disagreeable, but by no means can you call Mike Coulter a villain. You just can't. It's impossible.
Even if you gave Mike Coulter a pointed goatee, not just if you gave him a pointed goatee and you gave him like a Joker throne of the baby dolls, you couldn't make Mike Coulter a bad guy. You just couldn't. He's just these too darn likable.
All right. All right.
Like Mike Coulter, even if he's an executioner, would be a lovable, very compelling guy. It's like, man, he'd be the hero of that movie. You know, just be the guy, the executioner who just moves in, just says, he says, "Don't worry, it'll be over quick." He's just a nice guy. He'll ask, how was the pie? How was your last meal?
And of course, we have to have Mike Coulter as a male nurse in a procedural medical drama at some point.
Again, the good doctor. If they're ever looking for a walk-on role of, like, they need like a sassy nurse.
For a walk-on role, Dragon, like Mike Coulter as a male nurse will get me to legitimately
I'm getting there. I'm saying it starts like a small walk-on role, and then it develops into something.
God. All right.
Maybe even a spin-off. Who knows? The Coulter Files. I don't know. Not the Coulter Files, because that's a terrible name, because that's his name. It's tremendously lazy. Something like that. We gotta come up with
this hypothetical Luke Cage night nurse show.
No, we just knew it was gonna be like sassy.
Night nurse?
No, it wasn't night nurse. No, because again, that's what she is. No.
All right, so shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get to investigating Jessica Jones.
All right. So Jessica is definitely, again, short of possibly Matt in the beginning, she is definitely the most reluctant and at the very least, she's the most skeptical.
I mean, she's obviously the person in the episode that goes through the biggest arc out of the whole thing for good reason.
Like she Jessica walks out of the episode.
Yeah. Jessica Jones, to me, just continues to be the MVP of Defenders, Dragon. I really think just all her timing, just the way she bounces off all three of the main characters, how she just thinks Matt's crazy, and she calls off Matt on his bullshit. And then with Iron Fist, it's just like, the lithium line. Luke Cage, of course, they've got that great history with each other.
Let me try to add like a layer here. Again, I could be reading into this, but it's not intentional. But maybe a thing for the future to consider with Jessica Jones. With speaking of her dynamics with these guys, with Danny Rand, something has occurred to me that Jessica Jones, we saw she had the relationship she had with her brother in.
I feel like there could be like a brotherly dynamic playing out there. What
I'm saying is we knew she lost the brother, and looking at it that way, it's like Danny would replace the way she interacted with her brother in those flashbacks. I could see it kind of like basically filling the void of like that little brother figure in Danny Rand, which would be
might be something to track moving into the last 4 episodes of the series, Dragon.
Certainly, yeah, something to keep in mind.
All right.
But yeah, so again, it's so funny. The reason I also wanted to bring up Danny Rand is that think about this. Iron Fist is the plot key to everything. If he's the MacGuffin of it all, Jessica Jones is the true key to the team. She's the key to
I feel like
team.
Jessica Jones is like the least essential story-wise, but the most essential in terms of the themes.
Yes, and I think you hit it right on the nose, Tiki, is that she's the key to the team of heroes who don't view themselves as heroes. Because out of all of them,
Absolutely.
she MVPs that the reluctant hero arc. Again, where Luke has more of the arc going for him there, but Jessica Jones is essentially the definition of a reluctant hero. That's the thing, it's like she's always. I read an interview once. Basically, I think they were hyping up season 2 for Jessica Jones, and one of the showrunners compared it to Dexter, where Jessica Jones is a character where, if she gets better, then the show is over. So you always want to be trepidatious with an arc with Jessica Jones, which makes me really excited for season 2. By the way, is that
of course?
Jessica, she's very, for the most part, she's stagnant in this. It's again I would say she changes least out of all these characters. She does change a little, but I'm saying comparatively she changes the least.
But I feel like that's very fitting for her character because, of course, her character is grappling with a lot of vices, a lot of issues. She's kind of like stuck in a rut, as we'll see going forward into Jessica Jones season 2. That hasn't changed since the Defenders.
And where it's kind of fascinating, where Luke brings the old wizened Khan, the wizened character, the wisdom to Danny Rand, a little bit of Daredevil to Danny Rand as well. Jessica Jones definitely brings some wisdom. If Luke brings wisdom, then she definitely, if not wisdom, she brings perspective, and that's the key thing that she brings, and we see that in this episode. She brings very simply perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean like the
And of
anti-ego
course, I
perspective.
do like how in the second half of the episode we sort of get a mini like episode of Jessica Jones with her putting the pieces together and going to defend the family. It very much feels like something out of Jessica Jones season 1 in a good way. It's kind of a fun diversion.
Certainly, and what's great, and again, looking in comparison, is that like Luke, Luke was in it for one person, for one cause, the Miller family. Jessica Jones is in it also for one cause, her case. She's in it for like one particular reason. Only again, like Jessica, where she and Luke differ is that Luke's seeing the greater good, but also his cause has kind of hit a dead end, so he has the freedom to do that. She, on the other hand, does not. She has to look after this family and make sure, again, like she's in a place where she could cut the cord. And I love story-wise how we have that as a viable
I mean,
option.
after all, as the first boot of Survivor Thailand, John Raymond, he's made some enemies, Dragon.
You're just never gonna let the Raymond
No,
thing
I'm never gonna live that. No, no.
go.
I swear to God, there's a Survivor fan on the writing staff, Dragon.
It's not the
Anyways.
Purple Rock. It's
Hey, it's funny that you mentioned the Purple Rock because the Purple Rock actually also originated from Survivor Thailand as well as first boot John Raymond. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
anyway. So we definitely see her, as we mentioned before. She really cuts through with Matt to eventually her arc will be she's accepting. Basically, what it's similar to Matt, where Matt has to kind of accept the situation, which again she helped Matt get to that point. She herself has to accept her own trauma. And I'm reading between the lines on this a little because we're definitely going to get a direct reference to this in the next episode. I just want to make she's accepting her own trauma, her own PTSD in terms of returning to her trauma of like an otherworldly threat like Kilgrave. In this case, an otherworldly threat like ninjas and ancient civilizations and ancient
And a
wars.
lady who's like can live forever, seemingly.
Exactly, which again, if I were Jessica Jones, I'd be thinking, okay, it's someone with like otherworldly powers, kind of like Kilgrave. So it's just like I don't want any part of, because again, that's going to remind me of my trauma.
Right, right.
So yeah, I like that we're kind of having that kind of in the subtext there.
So it's sort of like she has to put that aside in order to really stand up for what she believes in.
And again, by the same token, she's keeping the hand in all of Danny Rand's stuff, and Danny Rand's the character she's keeping grounded with her cynicism. So it's kind of cool as we take the established stuff we have with Jessica Jones and we're applying it to making our characters and our show a Bible premise. She's carrying with her the believability of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So yeah, she flees the cause. The minute Stick arrives, I'm out. Too big. I'm out of here. No go. But again, through Luke's words and seeing it firsthand, through Luke, she kind of sees how this affects her and the Raymonds in the bigger picture of, okay, my clients are going to be in jeopardy by an unrelated force, and basically the Raymonds could turn to the next Hope Schlottman and the Schlottman family. I don't want that to happen.
I'm glad you bring up Hope, Dragon, because that's a really good contrast that they, we don't need to directly mention Hope, but, anyone who's seen season 1 gets it. That's sort of one of those nice wrinkles with, it's a benefit to having seen, these, these individual seasons that you don't necessarily need to, you don't necessarily need to know about Hope to really get Jessica's arc, but it adds a layer to it.
And again, I'm kind of speaking from glimpsing the future, kind of pulling a Karnak here, but just for the record, the Hand, they had that agent outside the Raymond's house because they were absolutely, if I'm reading this correctly, they were absolutely after Alexandra, tried to reach Danny Rand. The minute he said no, the plan was because the Hand already is like en route to go to their loved ones, and that means they're striking if they get the word that it's a no go, which means okay, no go, kill the families, kill the friends, kill the loved ones. So again,
right.
So it's definitely there's an intimidation factor there. Jessica, she made the right call in coming back there. So again, and of course, Jessica Jones getting wrapped up in yet another conspiracy. So again, Jessica Jones and conspiracies, which is a big foreshadow to season 2, where she's gonna have to little tease for season 2. She's gonna be dealing with a big old conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Fingerprints of the Hand.
Yes.
All right, Dragon. How good was that Murakami scene?
You know,
You
I
don't
gotta
like
tell you,
it?
on the rewatch, I'm not feeling it like I did the first time.
Really? It's funny. I'm kind of like I'm kind of the opposite of you, Dragon. Like on a rewatch, I was really feeling it.
Here's the thing: the first watch, I was feeling the bear scene because I thought it was going to have more of a payoff, and again, it's less the scene itself. To you,
I
the
guess
scene
you're
it's
right. It doesn't have much of a payoff. I just love the visual of it. It's a great way to, of course, Murakami is sort of like this, he's the guy behind Nobu.
yeah,
He's a big deal, especially to Daredevil. So,
certainly.
it is sort of like, hey, what better way to introduce a character like that than have him like, like, hey, Leonardo DiCaprio, eat your heart out.
Yes, but yeah, here, yes, but yeah, here's my thing though, and again, it's nothing. You're right. The scene itself is fine, but again, in context, it's more a fault of Murakami than the scene itself. Yeah, it's well directed, but broadly, Murakami is the biggest letdown of the Five Fingers for me. He's the biggest letdown. He had a good, again, they built him up, and just also many spoilers, folks. Just he does not pan out whatsoever. He's pointless.
Right.
He's a
I mean, I
weenie.
will agree. Like, the build up for him is great. It's just like they do nothing with it.
Yes, and just broadly, again, here's the thing: the rewatch it kind of hurt me. Again, that's why I'm casting more shade on the bear thing. It's less the bear thing; it's more what the bear thing connects to in this episode. Is that in this episode in the rewatch, my problem is that this episode it's a really good bottle episode, but of course, looking at technically definition of bottle episodes, it's all the it's just our characters in their set location, and we do go out of that. I'm not counting the whole Jessica Jones thing because that's it's necessary for the plot. But what I'm saying is, if you really look at this episode, Tegan, think about this. We don't need any of the hand stuff outside of
I'm kind of glad you're mentioning that, Dragon, because I'm sort of on the same page as you are.
because with
Like
the
the
exception of
Alexandra stuff is good, but it sort of is what I've been saying with, it's like there's only so many times you can see it. Like honestly, I feel like they had a big missed opportunity of not giving us at least one Alexandra flashback. You know what I mean? It kind of plays into the whole show don't tell mentality of the whole thing.
you're right about that, but
Because with that, it's like the episode is really just, it's kind of treading water with the hand. It's like, all right, Elektra doesn't have any humanity left. Alexandra's running out of time, and we've got some shadowy background figures in the hand that we have to deal with.
so that's what I'm saying. So I'll say this. I think in the next episode you'll see that they're doing the hand stuff they wanted to do in this episode, but it works a lot better in the next one. But here's the thing: this episode, just looking at it from a plotting perspective, all the cool information about the hand, all the stuff we need to know about the hand, is in the Royal Dragon. It's in the Chinese restaurant. Like Stick tells a really good story about the origins of the hand, which again could have been shown through flashback, but even told as a story, it works. And all that it's important that happens in regards to the hand is when Alexandra and Elektra show up in the restaurant. We don't need any of the other stuff outside of. Again, it could have been entirely a
Oh,
bottle.
I agree. You could, like, I feel like that would have made the episode stronger, as if Alexandra it would have made her showing up a little bit more impactful if it was the first time you'd seen her.
That's what I'm saying, and that's the thing. Kind of retroactively, again, it didn't occur to me the first time because again, I was even swept in like the first time view, and it's like, oh my god, this bear thing's gonna pay off. Oh boy.
Yeah, right.
Again, but just looking at the hand as it comes.
I
Here,
do,
like,
I have said that they've kind of been beating us over the head with this, but I do like how Jessica kind of discovers Alexandra through the signatures.
That's the thing. I'm just saying we keep that stuff. I'm saying we keep the Jessica. Like that's the only thing outside of the box I think we really need. There's all the Jessica Jones stuff along with that, which again is detective stuff and it's keeping the hand alive and building up Alexandra. We don't need any of the other stuff though.
Right.
But you're right. That was good detective work on Jessica Jones' part. The signature thing was clever. Let's see. Let's start with Elektra for a moment here because we've been talking about Alexandra a little there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to get. I feel like Elektra is very much going to kind of take center stage in the second half of the season.
Sure.
But I mean, for now, of course,
like,
we have kind of the inklings of she's sort of wondering, like, oh, is this all there is being a human fighting machine?
Yeah, I like that, she's piecing together. Again, technically it's objectively it's an unnecessary scene, but it is kind of a nice scene regardless of Elektra and Alexandra. Elektra's looking at herself in the mirror, and she's seeing the scars from the sai wounds that killed her. Nobu, they're stabbing her to death with their own sai, where the point is, like, it's starting to kind of, like, the cogs are starting to move in her brain. The Elektra part of her slowly but surely coming out. And again, she's kind of putting two and two together there, and what we see is, when she's also confronted by White Hat, she's putting on a strong front, but secretly, she is facing a choice. And here's the fascinating thing I'll kind of lay on Elektra here. And again, the thing I do like with Elektra that we do kind of get kind of put into motion here is that she's going to be going on an arc where it parallels Matt's arc in this season in an inverse. And I kind of talked about this a little last episode, but you get a little more here where it's paralleling Matt choosing one way of life over the other. Where here, she is in, she is saddled with one side of life, and she's flirting with where Matt was settling. They're both in the they're on like a weird paralleling opposite arc. Where again, he's in the normal life, and she's trying to get back to that normal Elektra side of life. She's trying to get back to the more docile life over the sin-filled life, where Matt is getting into the sin, where he's getting away from the docile life. So again, it's kind of a neat thing thematically with Elektra there.
Yeah.
Let's see, Alexandra. She's definitely facing some doubts with after the surprise team. Again, if you're Alexandra, it's like, oh my god, hey, we're gonna get the Iron Fist. Just walked right in here. I can't believe it. The guys at the hand water cooler are gonna love this. And then Danny Rand shows up. Like he shows up, and then Bulletproof guy, Daredevil, and a scarf, and and some drunk PI. What's going on here?
Right.
What is this?
A bad joke.
Yeah, so am I reading this memo right? No, wait, no, right. Danny Rand knocked out my secretary. Come on! No, but no, believe me, Sigourney she would deliver that far better, and I'm just pitching it right there. Yeah, if you did this is like an X Factor, she couldn't have predicted in a million years that there's a surprise team up that screws up her plans. Again, the plans were so best laid; they're going to go like gangbusters. And I love her response to it, though. Her response is that she reunites her own team. The threat that she issues in this episode is like, Stick, do you know what happens when last time we assembled the full 5 fingers of the hand? Like all these natural disasters happen. Like, ooh, it's a biggie. All the death, all the destruction. So her answer to a team up of like, okay, I'm going to assemble my own team.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, Dragon, because I feel like that was my version of the bear thing, where I just know how lame some of the 5 fingers of the hand in this season kind of end up turning out. So it's like the whole thread of that is kind of moot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But again, good build-up, though. Yeah, I think I'll give the episode that. Good build-up. Just, again, that's not the episode's fault. It's just the fault of the season.
Sure. All right.
But yeah, she takes I love how she takes the direct approach to terrify the enemy with how she just shows up. And again, even the blind men with the fantastic senses can't sense her until it's too late. She's that good. Of course, yeah, leads to the big destructive failsafe of, well, I'm going to kill all of you but Iron Fist thanks to the black sky.
Okay.
Lastly, again, Murakami, he taught Nobu. He's not good. And
yeah, I think I got that, Dragon. I think.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Murakami doesn't deserve much more than that, so let's move on.
But again, the bear thing is a good kind of badass entrance for him. Unfortunately, it's just about the only good scene he has.
When you really think of it, though, out of the hand, I'll get into this more in the next episode. Is that the hand, they don't really value their own lives because they assume they can bring themselves back. But Murakami is like the most gun ho of the group. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna hunt a bear for a couple of days. Really make like a weekend out of it. He's like a big game hunter back in the 40s or something. It's like I'm just gonna go in and camp out. I'm gonna fight a bear. That pansy DiCaprio couldn't do. It'd be fun. Yeah. No wonder they make him Joker. He can't even fight a bear. Come on. How can he do it with a guy in a bat suit? Come on. Anyway.
Okay, moving on. Let's get to...
Moving on up.
Oh. Okay, sorry. Let's get to Netflix. Nirvana.
Do you think it's Excelsior TV do those Excelsior expectations for Nirvana?
Well... My God, you should have pointed that out when I went through all the order, Dragon.
Sorry, folks, Claire.
Anyways, all right. So, what Stan Lee got to say about this episode, Dragon? What does Stan approve of? What would give the big thumbs up from Stan?
Well, I think first and foremost, Stanley would say Excelsior, but aside from that, what he would say, let's see, we got a lot of good stuff here. So, again, the bottle episode quality with the Royal Dragon setting is great, and again, the setting I already mentioned is like kind of a great usage of an unconventional location that again is kind of justifying Iron Fist, which is also good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like every time that we justify Iron Fist and have him like be really strong, it kind of amazes me, you know.
Right, the expediency of story and exposition. Again, I like how we do go through a lot of exposition in a non-forced way through. At the very least, we economize that exposition with Stick. You know, Stick is just he's telling us stories here. He's getting the team together. We're doing a lot by episode 4, and bear in mind we have to with only 8 episodes. So like we're literally at the halfway point. But by the same token, you know, in 4 episodes we're getting a lot across. So it is impressive, regardless of it being used to 13 episodes for at least 4 other series.
Yeah, and so speaking to that crossover thing, Dragon, I've never really understood the complaint people have about the slow pace of the show, because really it's like I've spoken to this before, but episode 1 it's everyone on their own. Episode 2 it's kind of like the 2 team ups happen. Episode 3 by the end everyone gets together, and then by this, Dragon, it's like this is really the high point of you know, just all 4 characters are just, the screen time is distributed really well, as you said. Like, you know, we make time for both the pairings that we've been building up throughout the season, as well as the new pairings, you know, like Luke and Jessica and Matt. You know, it's like they all kind of it's a very nice sort of like intertangled web of different motivations, different arcs.
Yep, the characters are getting to know each other. It's not, importantly, this episode, and this is the risk that this episode faced, and it did not succumb to it. It was not a boring dialogue. I mean, if you have like, this is a very dialogue-centric episode. The dialogue, you know, was just like, if it was all expositor, if it was all bland, if you didn't care about these characters, it would have been dead air.
It really just kind of it's got that kind of Joss Whedon sort of like, you know, really knowing how to build up a team quality to it. You know what I mean? It's like every character sort of like every line bounces off into another character. It's like it's like verbal ping pong in a way.
I love the intensity, but not intensity. I love the urgency in the aftermath. I love the aftermath, how we kind of track that. Okay, they're very frantic in the beginning, kind of boarding themselves up in the Chinese restaurant. Of course, proceeding to buy it. So again, we take care of a lot of like logical decompression after the awesomeness of the hallway fight.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Jessica Jones's PI work again, and very much, and again, she's kind of carrying the episode like it's her own show. I love that she's like carrying the episode.
Yeah,
like
that's what I said. You know, like with the PI stuff, it very much kind of leans into solo Jessica Jones.
Yeah. Matt's more in focus because Matt's been kind of in the background for the first 2 episodes, and now he's definitely. I think in this episode, basically for the second half of the show, starting here and then to the second half, Matt's far more like, you know, he's gotten over his fear now. He's like definitely in the fray of it.
Mm-hmm.
We subvert playing games, or you know, doing a mystic stuff or secrecy. You know, we subvert like playing games of identity again with Matt unmasking. You know, the whole unmasking scene. The hand's origin. I love the hand's origin. T. What'd you think of that?
It's fine. It's a little mystical. I wouldn't say I love it the way you do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, it's the way it's told, and just learning that, you know, the hand. I'm just saying from a practical standpoint of, okay, the hand, the Kunlun were healers, and we saw that come into play in Iron Fist. You know, where you can use the hand to heal people. So Kunlun they bred healers, and the hand basically originating from people who didn't want to heal, but they wanted to live forever. They wanted to take that chi, that power, and kind of harness it into a way of living forever, of being immortal. They wanted to become immortal like the Iron Fist, which again is very counter. The worshippers of the followers of the Iron Fist, of Shao Lao the Undying. You know, that's it's very counterintuitive. It's very countercultural. So they got kicked out for that. Now, yeah, I'm saying I love that fall from grace story with the hands. Very. Again, I don't mean to go religious on it, but it's kind of like a whole, like, you know, loose, you know, it's kind of kicked out of the kingdom. You know, it's like, you know, the greatest thing. You know, again, amongst the angels, they're cast out. You know.
Yeah, and of course I like how it also kind of, we've spoken to this before in the episode, but it plays into their addiction. You know, they're kind of you know, I don't know what the exact word for it, but their fixation on the afterlife, you know, their whole life kind of revolves around the fear of dying, preventing death and everything. And that you see that very much blend into the way they're operating in modern day.
And again, like with Murakami, I think thematically the hand treats life like an afterthought, and that hey, we can always bring ourselves back, and that speaks to them. Like they have a philosophy, like with Elektra, it's like the whole she's serving life, and I think it's a perversion because the hand, if you think of it this way, the hand keeps touting off like they're bettering the world, they're doing all that stuff, and that they're presenting a very dangerous solution for the world of like, hey, live recklessly, do bad things, and you can come back if you're in the inner circle, if you're in like kind of the midland circle, kind of approved group, if you will. Instead of preservation and like kind of celebration of life, they're not about healing people and kind of showing them a better way. They're just like, hey, again, we can bring you back. We can bring you back from the brink at the cost of the weaker race, of the weaker people, of like the whoever we use as tools, whoever we deem as unfit, as just like women, children, doesn't matter as long as we the select few who believe in this cause. So there's like thematically, it's kind of a cool thing to look at with the whole origin stuff.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think for me, it's Alexandra. Again, her presence is still really good, and her fashion sense is also quite nice.
Yeah, it's just, with Alexandra, I know where that's leading, and so it's sort of hard to really get into her intimidation factor on a rewatch, Dragon, I gotta say. And that's rather unfortunate because Sigourney Weaver does do a really good job. She's got a good presence to her.
Yeah.
I will say, like I said, that is one thing about this show, on rewatch, it's like, certain things just kind of become diminished. And I think just the mere presence of Alexandra is one of those things, unfortunately. So,
well, we got to revel in it while we can, I suppose.
I guess so. And of course, who knows? Maybe the Elektra turn is going to play better on a rewatch. There's always that possibility. So,
yeah, we'll see.
All right. So, is now the time to cue the Nirvana music, Dragon?
Yes.
All right, folks. It's time to not that. Ignore that. It's time to get into some Netflix Nirvana! All right. I probably screamed a little too loud there, but whatever. Okay, Dragon, so these are our favorite moments, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think you and I both kind of chose pairings of moments. So for me, I really love all the Heroes for Hire stuff with Danny Rand and Luke Cage. I just, in general, the Chinese food throughout the episode, Dragon, it's a treat. It's like, I love how excited Danny is about, like, as part of the deal, he has to order 4 of everything. He doesn't take that as a bad thing. He's like, oh, free food. All right. We get to eat and we get to strategize. Kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
I love that so much, and again, it's making them. It's like forcing them into a friendly situation where they're very early in their friendships. I suppose it's kind of,
But of course, the moment that just sells everyone is Luke Cage kind of like, man, how are you still hungry? And them talking about like Danny's kind of going on about the chi. Luke's kind of slowly coming to an acceptance about it, but. It really is, this moment's kind of them, sort of the Heroes for Hire, really cementing themselves as a dynamic duo, if you will. And then, of course, we end on the great line, like, hey, do you want the last dumpling?
Yeah.
The really good stuff there. And, of course, I can't get over, we've already emphasized the great arc that Jessica goes on. But just, oh, God, how good is that ending with, Elektra is revealed, and it looks like all hope is lost, like, Stick and Matt, they don't know what to do. And then Carr through the wall. Jessica Jones comes back, having a Han Solo moment.
You missed me?
Yeah. And then, of course, the lineup, Dragon. I mean, how, like, we all love a good Marvel lineup of heroes. And this is it. This is it. And, of course, it kind of makes me reminisce that, we're going to lose Stick soon. So it's great to see Stick in that lineup with them. Just everything about that ending. Just honestly, Dragon, while the hallway fight in itself is a spectacle for sure, I think I might like this ending just a little bit better in terms of like, all right, now I really want to see what, where this goes.
Yeah.
So, all right, what do you got?
All right, for me, I kind of have a combo of two moments here. So I got first off something I completely forgot about until the rewatch that I kind of just maybe kind of geek out. It was a little moment where it's 'cause I mean I knew it was like it was addressed. I just forgot like I remember Luke Cage had a problem with 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 Matt wearing the mask, but I forgot the moment really played like this. And again, it speaks to kind of like a very simple, like, seeing two of your favorites kind of like square off against each other for a moment. And I've been kind of dying to see this face off again. Like, yeah, like I don't need them to fight. I'm just saying, like, I like those teases. My first moment here is the tease of Luke Cage versus Daredevil. Like, just the tease of it here, because again, I love these two guys. I love Luke Cage the piece, and I've said so many nice things about the Luke Cage show. Again, I can't get enough of it, but just the moment plays very simply like this. So. It's kind of boiling to a head. Matt says, I can't be involved in this. Hey, you are. Luke's kind of chasing him out the door a little bit here, saying, hey, you are involved in this. And they say, look, man, I don't know who you are. I don't owe you anything. And then he stops and he just Luke very sternly. Oh, the ever loving Luke Cage here. He just tells him, just take the mask off. And oh boy, here we go. This is the moment I'm geeking. I completely forgot about it. It's very enjoyable in the rewatches. Like I was just so swept up in it all. Where Daredevil, where Matt looks up, and he says, "You're not going to like where this is heading." And then, of course, Luke kind of scoffs at it, and he kind of gives a smile, like "Try me." Then Jessica smartly she breaks it up, and the moment doesn't go much further than that. But just in that moment, though, whether as much as I love Luke Cage, just being the Daredevil being the first one I heard of all the Netflix shows, just at the end of the day, not for a moment do I not think that Daredevil could hold his own against Luke Cage.
Absolutely.
Whether he beat him or not, I know he'd be able to hold his own, and that's like a mashup of kind of like a face off. Again, that's not necessary, but just for like just for the fancifulness of it, like, oh man, that'd be fun to see. Luke Cage.
Well, it'd be great to see an Avengers movie, Dragon, but of course, heaven forbid we cross over this cinematic universe with the Netflix universe, right?
Yeah, heaven forbid.
I mean, what a concept that would be.
Yeah, the other moment, quite simply, and this one is always like the most memorable scene for me, and just quite simply, it's always the one that comes to mind when I think of this episode, is Alexandra meeting Luke Cage. It speaks my love.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's this beautiful little moment there. And I love. It doesn't really. I wish it came back a little more, but for obvious reasons, we don't really get a chance to really pay it off. But Luke Cage Luke Cage doesn't interact a lot with the hand. I think that's kind of a mistake. We do the most of that in the next episode. It's got it is what it is, but I just love the moment of Alexandra. She's familiar with the players on the board for the most part. They're a little iffy on like how much do they know about Matt Murdock being Daredevil. It's like they know, but they don't talk about it. So regardless, the point is, Alexandra mysteriously shows up in the Chinese restaurant. It's great, and she's kind of taking Danny on like a little like I think it's right before she takes Danny on that little stroll, which I love. Is Luke kind of speaks up. Saying like we don't want any part of this, and she turns. She's intrigued by Luke Cage, and Sigourney Weaver plays this so wonderfully. She turns and she walks over, and again he's like the X Factor, and she's seen Luke Cage in action in that boardroom. She saw him in action. She was the first of the defenders of like the guys who screwed up her plan. So she's kind of miffed but intrigued at Luke Cage here, where she kind of walks up to him and says, Mr. Cage, I don't think I've had the pleasure. She knows his name. I love it. She knows his name. Like, she's looked into him a little bit, but
and of course, as we've already addressed, Luke Cage kind of has the most hard and fast moral center of these characters, and I bet that fascinates her as well.
It's like, look, I'm making a stretch here, but in this scene, I can't explain it. If I'd label it something, it's just Luke Cage in this scene has such kind of a. He has such kind of a Christopher Reeve factor of him in this scene, like a Christopher Reeve Superman. Like he's the morally upright guy in the scene, and essentially kind of, like our General Zod, if you will, is kind of walking up in the scene, kind of all snooty and just kind of like saying, yes, Mr. Cage, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Let's keep it that way. It's like a street-level Christopher Reeve delivery, and I love it.
All right. Okay, penultimate installment here, Dragon. Let's get to the Inciting Incidents.
All right. So first and foremost, we have again the scarf teasing the Daredevil mask, but as well teases to tease at Iron Fist of teaching Iron Fist. Again, I specify because we brought up the mask before. I specified here because in this episode, Danny and Matt do get a bit of like Sticks suggests that Danny could learn a lot from Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
So we're kind of teasing the mask again, and see him wearing that mask again down the line. Iron Fist is going to adopt a very similar mask, maybe for that reason of like, hey, I learned a lot from my experience with Daredevil. And secondly, it's a light tease at the comics where, again, I won't say too much about it now. Let's just say where in the comics, Danny Rand also donned the Daredevil mantle. I'm not saying we're going to do that here. I'm just saying it might be a little side tease of that, like, hey, a little reference to the comics.
Right. This is a silly little callback, but it made me smile because it's an episode title. Like, I like how Luke Cage addresses that Danny Rand has a mean right hook.
Yeah.
Doesn't really mean much in the long scheme, but, it's one of those nice details that kind of ties the season together a bit.
We definitely allude to Luke and Jessica's past and the relationship.
Oh, big time. Yeah, sure. As we've already said, like, Jessica Jones, it kind of calls to mind, like, the season 1 of it all with her. This does feel like almost like half of a Jessica Jones season 1 episode in some ways.
Yeah. Stick, we have his admiration and his connection. His admiration, his connection to Matt, especially since Elektra. Because you got to remember, Stick kind of, he'll joke about coming up, but he's definitely gotten soft in his old age. And like there was that funeral scene from Daredevil season 2. They've gotten really close since then. Where Stick, he's more vocal about the respect he has for Matt, and especially now the war's coming, he's kind of buttering him up a little.
Mm-hmm.
Stick definitely has he's praising Matt very appropriately, and that's nice. So they're showing the arc that they've had, and also Stick minus a hand.
By the way, Dragon, I think that's probably the worst effect in the whole show.
Yeah, I
brought this up before. It looks really bad in this episode.
No, here's the difference. When we talked about it, I guess I misunderstood you last episode. I thought you meant like the hand falling on the ground.
No. I mean the effect of like him actually like missing the hand.
See, that's the thing. Now I get what you were saying. I didn't. I was speaking. Like,
don't. It looks really bad.
Yeah, because here's the problem with it, though. The problem is that what they did, and at least as far as I can tell, seeing it for like I looked in episode 5, so I've kind of seen like how it consistently looks like to be the same problem. They just wrapped up his hand in like a stump.
That's exactly what they did, and it's so noticeable.
So it looks like he has like a hoof instead of a hand.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like he's. That's the thing. He has a stump, but the stump is where the
arm
hand
is like way longer than it should be because of that.
And that's a budget thing. It has to be like a budget thing. We don't have enough to CG like
honestly, I think there's some shots where they just literally like just focus on his arm and don't even cut out his hand. It's just like, oh look, you don't see his hand in the shot.
Just ridiculous. Let's see. So again, the origin of the hand, which again I mentioned, they come from Kunlun. Again, the 5 fingers of the hand are mentioned, so we definitely have they tease the 5th member. Ooh, I wonder who it's gonna be. Let's see. We build up.
Of course, Elektra kind of slowly regaining her humanity is a big sticking point there.
Biggie, yeah. Elektra's slow reboot, if you will, just kind of booting up.
Unfortunately, some stuff with the hand that doesn't quite pay off as well.
Yeah, and again, speaking of which, Murakami, all the build-up Murakami. Oh, there's a dead bear. This guy's gonna. He's dissecting a bear that he killed with his own bare hands. Murakami, the trainer of Nobu, he made Nobu. Murakami. What's funny for me? You're gonna appreciate this. Is the kind of joke that you love. Murakami. Whenever I think Murakami, I think because I forgot what the guy's name was for the rewatcher. So when the episode played, they introduced him. Okay, Murakami, that's the name. But before that, I didn't know. When I heard the name Murakami, it occurred to me. Like I'm thinking one of the guys, one of the producers, one of the showrunners and producers on Batman Beyond and the Justice League show, Glenn Murakami.
Yeah,
I'm saying every time I hear that's the only Murakami I really know.
Right. Kind of like the name is like I have with Survivor Thailand first boot John Raymond.
I'm I'm saying this one's a little. I've had how many? There are a couple Raymonds. I'm just saying, they're like the second Murakami I've ever run across.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the second Murakami in my life ever.
I'm pretty sure there's a famous Japanese author named Murakami, so that might be where it came from, actually.
Sure. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like, rarely do you see American.
If I'm thinking of the same guy, I think I've read a couple of his books. Anyways,
okay, let's see. So, Danny Rand's temper and incompetence. That's definitely going to be little runner there. Everyone knowing karate, but Jessica Jones. I love that as a plot point, but everyone else has martial arts. I love that she voices that. Like, am I the only one who doesn't know karate? Because again, seriously, especially when she's going up against Murakami later, it's like, yeah, Jessica Jones is really at a disadvantage against the hand because you got to remember, Jessica Jones, unlike Luke Cage, while she is strong, she can get cut and stuff.
Also,
like,
she doesn't really own her powers either. That's an important factor to consider with her.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica Jones is very. It's kind of fascinating. It's more stuff I'm eager for season 2. Is that Jessica Jones, while she is strong and she can, leap, essentially, quote unquote, fly, falling in style, whatever you want to label it as, she can, she's very vulnerable at the same time. She is, she can get shot. She's as vulnerable as she is powerful.
Right.
All right. Let's see, White Hat / Sawandi, because that's his name. Because here's the thing, they have to call him by. It's funny, they can't call him White Hat because in the next episode he doesn't wear a white hat, so they have to tout his name. So,
oh God! Again, Dragon. I think much like Daredevil season 2, some of the more wonky elements of this thing come from the hand.
Yeah, but White Hat has some cool. I really love White Hat in the next episode, though. I can't wait for that.
I'm kind of drawing a blank on how his storyline concludes. So there is some stuff in the back half of the season, Dragon, that I'm interested to see how it holds up.
I'll say this much: it pretty much ends up like, again, the hand is built up so well, but they were so disappointing in retrospect.
It's like a freaking house of cards. You know what I mean? It just comes
down. So much love in the beginning, and then it just peters out to an unsatisfying finale with the hand, at least from my recollection. But regardless, I was saying, at least out of all of them, I would say White Hat got the coolest kind of end point. While brief, it was cool.
Fair enough.
Let's see. So, Matt keeping Elektra a secret. That's going to be. I'm going to rant about that in the next episode. The whole how that thing goes down. But Matt keeping Elektra a secret, that still bugs me. And of course, the biggie, Heroes for Hire tease with the whole. I'm not looking for super friends. Like Heroes. They didn't say it like this, but imagine if they did Heroes for Hire. That's a terrible idea, Danny.
God, Danny, you just get more and more incompetent with everything you say.
Yeah, Danny, what are you on? Lithium? What are you? What are you on? ELO? What's wrong with you, boy?
God.
Say, how good is ELO?
All right. Okay, that it?
All right. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Dragon, let's move on to the final installment and ask the daring question. Who's for Chinese?
Let's crack open the fortune cookies. What do you got?
Yeah, as I said, Dragon, I do think overall this is probably the best episode of Defenders. While episode 3 ended on the great hallway fight, I think overall, all the way through, the writing on this is really, really strong, really on point. The character interactions are exactly what we were hoping for. They're just they're perfect. Even like the stuff that's dumb and doesn't really pay off, like the Murakami stuff, in the moment, it's cool. It's always cool to see like that. The bear, the physical bear prop and everything, So, there's a couple silly elements along the way with this, but you know what? It wouldn't be Marvel without a couple silly elements. So I'm fine with that. As always, Jessica Jones kind of continues to steal the show here. She continues to be the MVP of the season. And overall, a very, very satisfying end of the first half of the season. Excited, but also a little bit trepidatious to, kind of dip my toe into the back half of the season, which I haven't watched since my initial binge of this. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right. For me, I love the bottle episode quality of this. I really do. I think it's a really good meet and greet aftermath episode. Again, I think it just pairs so wonderfully with episode 3. I mean, I'm still probably going to say episode 3 is. Again, we're going to go through and see like how the rest of them stack. I think it's a pretty safe bet though that 3 is still going to be my favorite. Then really like a very small window followed by this. I mean, it's like neck and neck, folks.
I think I agree. Like 3 and 4, they're kind of like the 8 and 9 of the season, right? Where they are the clear highlights.
That's what I'm saying. They're both very, very excellent. We have reluctant heroes forced to team up. That's very much what this one is. We're probably we probably could have lost. My biggest thing on the rewatch that has occurred to me, we probably could have lost all the hand B plot. So the hand, all the stuff outside the restaurant not counting Jessica Jones. We could have lost that, and we wouldn't have lost anything aside from like a little Elektra moment that we're going to do all the time anyway. So I mean, really not losing anything. It's a fun setting, solid writing, capturing the characters' voices, and that's very important. Like none of the characters felt, off or out of character. They felt okay. We're helping them along the way there. And again, we economize the main character's story as well. So again, it's got a nice bow, but we have the receipt there just in case for that hand beat plot.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
Okay, now we separated till next time when Netflix's New Yorkers summon us to mull over the Marvel microcosm that is...
The Defenders.
The Defenders. Are you on